Hello commanders and welcome to this video for Infinite Lagrange. I planned to do, or already started doing, a really nice video about some fights. We do have a very nice situation here. There's a very big hive from us and there's a lot of enemies here. So we are in a constant, fight, war. And it is a lot of fun. Now, my main problem here is I do have this really strong fleet. I love this fleet. It is amazing. But we will see when we take a look at the ship list. I use the solar whales. I use the Constantines. And I do also have a lot of destroyers inside there, frigates, so all of this stuff. And it performs really well. It comes in with a lot of anti-air, spores, T-800 corvettes. Right now I'm setting up a third solar whale to get into, but the problem with all of this is it is really slow. So it works good for defending structures, doing blockades, but to attack something, or if you decide you want to do a video and let's go somewhere, it does not really perform well because the enemy has so much time. If they think they will lose, they will just retreat, or they just go 2 or 3 steps to the side. And you are in no position to catch up with them or to attack them. And it's not like this is something new. I know this problem from all the seasons before. And while the big ships are really nice, it gives us many times the it forces us to use other ships. And now we want to go into carriers, so every kind of ship that can carry aircraft. The most famous one, the CV-3000, is there. I do have the solar whale. I do not have the Marshall Crooks yet. But we will also look into the smaller ships because they are much faster. Especially if we compare it with the solar whale. I already skilled the speed of the solar whale. It comes with 250 cruising speed. 250. That is so slow. The CV-3000 at least had 400. If we take a look, something like the Constantine also comes with 400. The ST-59 is also that slow, so that's a big problem of the solar whale. And we are in a phase of the game, or at a point of the game, where aircrafts are probably the most powerful things you can bring in, if you have them. If you got something like a CV T-800, this thing is a beast when it comes to anti-air. It has very decent fire stats, anti-ship, so you can see I already got it slightly upgraded, not complete yet, but it comes with energy weapons, so there's no problem for the ship to destroy even bigger ships. And if you don't have anti-air, you will be in trouble there. There are other ships like here the Nebula Chaser B version. I don't have that one. Also very strong. Cellular Defender, very strong. And therefore, as these are very strong ships, they are the meta. At least where I play, how I play, I see them all the time. And to counter these ships, the best counter for the corvettes is a CVT-800. For the fighters, you would have the Mistral. I don't have that one yet. The Spore is very powerful too. The Centrake looks great on paper. The main problem with the Centrake, if we take a look at the cannon, this one prioritizes corvette and fighters, but the other one also has destroyers and frigates. It happens sometimes that the Centrake is not really focusing on their anti-air role, and then you are in trouble because then it will stay on whatever it is shooting at till this is dead, and with only 1200 anti-ship fire, that will take some time. So let us talk about your options to bring fighters into the game. And what would that video be if I would not have an Excel sheet to look into this? So let's take a look what we have here. The blue colored ones, they are all destroyers. For the purple, we have all our cruisers. And yellow, I marked the carriers. So don't get that wrong, this is not a tier list. It does not mean that the carriers are the top of the top. We will look into this in a second. Let's start with what do we have and what can we sort out directly. We do have, for the destroyers, 2 options each for corvettes as well as fighters, and there's not big differences, 1 comment point different, so that gives us a carrier rating, I just call it carrier rating, of 0.25 or 0.22. What I mean with this is how many fighters or corvettes can you bring in per comment point. For our cruisers, we directly see there are 2 cruisers that can bring in aircrafts, but let's be honest, they are pretty useless. They will only bring in 2, while the Jaeger and Predator can bring in 4, and they need the high comment points, so they perform from a carrier perspective similar to destroyers, but you have to pay double the comment points. So therefore I will take these 2 out. They are not really good. I will not recommend you to use any of these. When we take a look at the carriers, the carriers, we will see we do have some really nice options there. But we also see that while the CV3000 can bring in quite some nice load, we have 5 fighters and 6 corvettes, so that's 11 total. The Solar Whale in its base setup only comes with 6 corvettes. The Marshall crew would come with 10 fighters. So you could say we take these out. I will keep them, and we will talk a little bit later about why I keep them here. But let's take a look. What would I recommend you to use if you want to do PvP with an aircraft heavy fleet, which is really something that works amazingly good. Because of the speed, I would recommend you to use destroyers. They have the best ratio for comment points per ships they can bring in. The Jaeger and Predator, don't get me wrong, they are good, but they bring double the number of ships, but they also cost double the comment points. And therefore, it is not really worth it. Also, if you take a look at anti-ship and anti-air damage per comment point, you see they are not better than our destroyers. So my recommendation would be to go with destroyers, because they are very good in their ratio, and they are fast. They are really fast. And that brings us always back to the video where I explained how to set up fleets, what to put in the front row, how to support them. And you know, we do have the Ceres, we do have the Guardian, and also the Tundra. All of them are also available in a repair version. So that means you can set up something like with a front row, with a mix of, probably you would put frigates inside, Carillion special frigates in the front row, then some support in the middle, and a lot, I really mean a lot, of these carriers in the back row to swarm the enemy with everything you have. Now, where does this leave us? We do have the Guardian as well as the AC-721 to bring in corvettes. So everyone has the AC-721, not everyone might have the Guardian. The AC-721 requires less comment points. Now, one thing you might want to consider, like the Solar Whale does come already with a special treat. It has an HP recovery. So when the ships go back to the hangar, they will recover HP there. Here, ship maintenance system. Here we have it. In the ship maintenance system, we do have these additional 10%. And you can also now, and that's the special thing about things like the solar veil, you can increase the cooldown reduction for all aircrafts in all hangars. So for the carriers, let's go back shortly to our list. While the carriers do not perform amazingly good early on, there you really have the choice, go with cruisers, go with destroyers. But just from a comment point per ship you can bring in, they are not so good. You know, we always can get modules, and for me, like, I got a module here that adds 5 fighters, and with adding 5 fighters, I am now at a point where I bring the same number of ships per comment point. Now, don't get me wrong, I will not put the solar veil into my fleet setup. The solar veil will be reinforcement, and that is where the carriers would be. You would not put them into your base fleet setup. You will always use them to reinforce your fleet because they do have such high comment point requirements. If you want to stay fast, you cannot send a solar veil like I do, because that will make your fleet immediately slow. I know a lot of players in my unions, they are running destroyer max fleets, meaning they will run only frigates and destroyers, and believe me, they can do a lot of damage. So I will set up a fleet like this. Now in these days I'm going to build all the ships I need, and then I hope on the next video I can show you how well these setups can perform if done correctly, and how powerful and strong they are. Let me know what you run in your fleet. What is your setup? Do you prefer slow and powerful fleets, or do you set up really fast fleets that can attack, can move around very, very quickly? What ships do you use? And as always, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and then I'll see you on the next video again.